Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to show 205. We're back on the track with the show 205, which is about my personal testimony. This will be chapter 4. The title of this chapter is Bad LSD Trips and Led Zeppelin. You heard correctly, Bad LSD Trips and Led Zeppelin. What does one have to do with the other? You shall soon find out. Okay, so then, like I said, I was in love. I fell in love with LSD, lysergic acid. I fell in love. It was a drug of my choice. It was my favorite drug. I mean, I lived on marijuana too, but LSD was just wow. That was like the climax. That was like, wow, the most incredible drug that I was so addicted to and loved so much. But life is funny, and destiny takes its turns sometimes unexpectedly. What started happening besides selling LSD, I was really into tripping. They even called me trippy. I must have tripped, and I don't exaggerate, I have no reason to lie, like 200 times on LSD. Okay? And all sorts of types, paper acid, magic dot, blue dot, and then little pills, acid pills, orange sunshine, blue cheer, I did them all, and it was wonderful. But like I said, life is funny that way, and destiny takes its course without without warning and without your permission. I started having, first, what started happening was that the Hippie Revolution started dying. The Victorian gang started dying. People going to jail, people going to mental institutions, prison, death. That was another thing that broke up the Victorians gang. I mean, we were, it died out, just like together with the Hippie Revolution that died out. And my LSD trips starting to be not so pleasant. I was losing control. I was having not good trips. I was losing control of myself. I was talking to myself. I was losing it. Seriously speaking, okay? So that's what happened with that. So I got away from that and world for a while. Got away, left New York, went around the country, right? To try to find the old hippie revolution, but it was gone. So I ended up coming back to New York and to try to find the past, try to find what I had left behind, try to find my life. My whole life was to be a hippie, to be part of the hippie revolution, to change the world with LSD, with the hippie revolution, to change the world, man. That was my chosen path. I barely finished high school, and I have no intention of going to college, and I just wanted to be a hippie and change the world with the hippie revolution. That was my only purpose in life. So when this all died out, you know what I'm saying? All good things sometimes come to an end. I was lost in the sauce, needless to say. I was more lost than a taco in a Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurant. I was more lost than an egg in a ceviche. I couldn't find my way. I lost my compass in life. I didn't know what to do. I was basically, you might say, I was en route to becoming suicidal. No emotion there, no emotional, not trying to get attention, but on a serious basis. So therefore, I didn't know what to do. Remember, I stopped being an atheist with LSD. I believed there was a God, but I did not like Christians, and I still have a problem with these evangelical fundamentalist, holier than thou hypocrites that don't know how to interpret the Bible. So I didn't know what to do. So one day, I'm sitting in the attic in my house, my grandma's house in Bay Shore, New York, confused and distraught, discouraged and depressed. And all of a sudden, a new song came out on the radio, okay, a new hit from Led Zeppelin, which was one of my favorite groups. I grew up with Led Zeppelin. That's one of my favorite rock and roll groups besides Jimi Hendrix and a few others, okay. Santana, I love Santana, still do. Soul Sacrifice. So I'm sitting there, and in the radio it comes out this new hit from Led Zeppelin. And it was called Stairway to Heaven. Stairway to Heaven, my friends. That's it. And that song spoke to me loud and clear. There's a feeling I get when I look to the west, and my spirit is crying for leaving. In my thoughts I have seen rings of smoke through the trees, and the voices of those who stand looking. Ooh, it makes me wonder. Ooh, really makes me wonder. And it's whispered that soon, if we all call it tune, then the piper will lead us to reason, and a new day will dawn for those who stand long, and the forest will echo in laughter. So that song just went inside my deepest part of my soul. I mean, it's talking about a piper. We got to follow the piper. And it's talking about the West. And we New Yorkers, had different ideas about California. They're all faggots and shit. Excuse the expression. But, there were these flower children. We took LSD, but we would commit vandalism and get into fights and break things, under the influence of LSD. I mean, we didn't lose it, turn into these little flower children. That was California. It was considered a spiritual place, where a lot of spiritual people and yogas and all these Hare Krishnas and all these people. So that song, wow, I heard the call of the piper. I had nothing to lose. I heard the call of going out west. I wanted to find the life. I wanted to find life. I wanted to find the purpose of life. Okay, that's what I wanted to find, the love of life. And so, man, ladies and gents, the Hippie Pastor here talking to you. We're talking about like 50 years ago, all right? And change. I just had a pocket full of change, talking about change. I grabbed a little tiny little backpack, and I didn't ask for permission. I didn't say nothing to nobody. I just walked out that door, headed to California from Long Island, New York. Can you imagine that shit? I was on my way to California. I said, fuck it. I got to find the piper. I got to find the purpose of life. I got to find myself or else end it. But I got to shake it. So I got on that highway, man, and started hitchhiking like they used to do in the old days. Hitchhiking used to be cool. Now it ain't. You get all these kind of weirdos, or weirdos pick you up. But they used to have a sign in a lot of cars, vehicles. It was a habit, and it was a cultural thing in the United States to pick up hitchhikers and meet people. And they used to have a sign. A lot of people would put in their car. It would say, grass, gas, or ass. So in other words, you contribute with gas, you contribute with grass, or you contribute with your ass. That's the more painful payment. But so it was in style. So I got I'm on the other side. I'm east of New York City. I mean, I had to go through the city and then eventually catch Highway 80 that takes you all the way to San Francisco from New York City. So I started hitchhiking. I got like 7 different short rides till I arrived to Ohio, some little gas station there in the state of Ohio. After 7 rides, and I would go in restaurants. I didn't have money. I would grab leftover food, or sometimes they'd invite me food. Or people that gave me rides sometimes give you a few bucks here and there, or they invite you food, or I would find food, scrubbing around the restaurants, playing stupid, and people would leave leftovers. That's how I was living till I got to a gas station in Ohio. Stay tuned for the next chapter and see what happens to the Hippie Pastor in the gas station from Ohio. I love you.